Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are doing very well. Thank you for joining us in this Saturday morning for our MTM Management Through Movies session. I am Mansi from Square Sequel, and we at Sequel work with corporates to create learning interventions in order to deliver learnings to upskill human capital. So, as the name suggests, MTM, we try to dig movies through which we can get some learnings out of it from the movies which we usually watch. Please note in the MTM we do not review or recommend any movies. It's just the learnings that we take in from those movies. So with that, I hand it over to you, Jimmy sir.
Thank you so much, Mansi, and let me also begin by thanking each one of you to take time out on a Saturday morning. Just a few things to mention before we start. The recording of this entire session will also be made available on our YouTube channel by the name Jain. Feel free to revisit it, and you will also get a notification the moment it is uploaded. That's one. Two, as Mansi said, we are not reviewing, we're only sharing our perspective. Now, when I say that we are sharing our perspective, it doesn't mean it is the right perspective or it is the only way to look at that situation. We would encourage you to look at that situation, that scenario, that scene from your own point of view, and contribute maybe on the YouTube when it is uploaded. Share your point of view in this conversation also. And the fag end will have a Q&A. Feel free to question, ask, understand as we move on. So that's our intention as far as the Management Through Movies initiative is concerned. Okay, so let me quickly start sharing my screen with you, and here we go. So give me a thumbs up, someone, if you can just confirm this, you can see the screen. Okay, lovely. Now, this is a very interesting movie, The Beautiful Game. Another important thing which I must mention about the initiative MTM is, to the extent possible, we make an attempt to pick up a movie which is based on real life events. So this movie is also based on, it may not be somebody's biopic or so to say somebody's story, but it's inspired from true events. And let's see, what this movie is all about. Now, this movie currently, as you know, again repeating that we don't recommend, we don't review, it's your choice. However, the agenda would be, we'll talk about the storyline, we'll look at the learnings from the movie and the Q&A. Well, this movie, Beautiful Game, is available on Netflix. The director is Three Sharaf and the writer is Frank Cottle-Boyce. And the cast includes some interesting names, Bill Nighy, Michael Ward, so on and so forth. Now, this movie, and when I saw this movie for the first time, it was something which I was not even aware of. There is something called as Homeless World Cup. I've known about the Football World Cup, but however, this movie is about a film which centers on the journey of a group of homeless people, homeless soccer players. And I was surprised to see there are people coming from all parts of the world. And since I said it's not a fictional story, it's based on real-time story. As we speak, it is happening around the world. As in, people who are homeless are practicing to feature their country in the Homeless World Cup. And it also highlights their struggles and triumphs using the power of the game of soccer, the game of football, to bring hope, dignity, and a sense of purpose to their lives. Many years ago, I was associated with an NGO, and they reached out to me rather, instead of me, I must say that they were associated with me. They reached out to me and they said they want to do this, and I was like, I couldn't fathom, I couldn't digest, I couldn't understand that how a sport can help somebody who's living in slums, because to me, it was more about taking out the basic needs first, then talk about the game. You know what we say typically, roti kapda makan. But when I saw this game, when I saw this movie, it totally changed my perspective. Now it's very interesting that you see the manager, the gentleman who is in the suit there. His name in the movie is Mel. Now he's the manager of the team. It's usually based on the life of a real life person called Craig McInnes. Now, who is this gentleman? You must understand that it is not the players who were homeless. It is the manager also who has been through the journey. And he was able to empathize with them in a better fashion. Now, typically, just to give you a little input on who is Craig McAnnis, he was born in Glasgow and he dedicated his entire life to football. He played as a semi professional player for various clubs in Scotland. However, it wasn't enough for him to feed himself. So he actually moved in, worked as a consultant in the various recruitment firms, but still at the core remained football for him. And one of the characters in the movie is called Winnie. Now, Winnie, interestingly, that's another interesting, strong character, if I may say, in the movie. But before we talk about Winnie, if you look at the Craig McAnnis, there's a testimony available for him. And how do we know? The movie doesn't talk about that he's being homeless, but once you read this and then you relate to the movie, you realize that yes, the manager was also staying in the homeless hostel, right? So he was himself a drug addict. Uh, he battled with the addiction for the past 20 years with a series of unfortunate events that tipped him off. And he not only lost his job, but also his father. And after that, he actually found himself in the streets of Edinburgh. And he had a resolve that I don't want to end up being a drug addict and spend the rest of my life, the rest of the days on the streets of Edinburgh. So he decided to make proper amends through football. He entered into a drug de-addiction program, which helped him start his journey of being sober. Now, was that enough? Probably not. To him, football was something which was the savior. Now, another interesting piece about this is when you see the movie ends with the one of the main characters, Winnie, teaching the new batch of homeless individuals how to improve their lives through football and how to save yourself from usage of substance, usage of drugs. And in real life, a lot of people are doing it, and we understand that they do that through various charities, various clubs, various foundations. And my urge to you is, as you move forward, wherever in your life you get an opportunity to contribute to any of these kind of initiatives, please go ahead, because you never know what is the story of the person you're going to shape up. Now, typically, the movie is extremely moving. I mean, I found it very moving, and it's highlighted the essence and the beauty of humanity and camaraderie. Despite initial indifferences between Winnie and the rest of the team. Now, typically, let me take a step back and tell you what the story is. So, there is this group of people who are playing in the football field, and in the background, there's a commentary which is going on. Now, this commentator is nobody but Winnie Walker himself. And as Winnie is talking, the ball comes to him, and he starts dribbling. That's where Mel says that, who are you? Even though in the later part of the movie we came to know that the manager is very well knew who Winnie Walker is, but he said, why don't you join us in this football World Cup of the homeless? And this fellow was like, homeless? But I have a home, so I can't qualify. Eventually, we came to know that he was homeless, but he was not ready to accept it. He was living for weeks in his car. And then the story began. He said, okay, fine, let me come over. Let me be a part of the team. Now, interestingly, Winnie could not associate himself with the other members of the team. And he always thought he's different. So much so that when they went to Rome for the World Cup, he did not stay with them. Of course, he checked in, but he never used to sleep in the same rooms which was given to them. He probably used to go around, sitting in the benches in the park there. And interestingly, movie doesn't disclose the reason for this. But as the movie progresses, you realize Winnie is actually struggling with himself to come to the reality, because he was not selected. He was scouted. Scouted means, the club managers scout the talent, that these are the people who probably would be the future champions. Let's take their progress. Let's take them into our fold. So Winnie Walker was one of them. And then the movie shows that the England team which they are representing plays fantastic in the World Cup and eventually loses out. They couldn't win the cup. However, the best part here is, if a team wants, they can borrow the player from some other country. So the team South Africa borrows Winnie, and Winnie got his chance to redeem himself as a football player. But more than the game, what it also brings out is how each one of us with our own stories. We don't realize what is the story of the other individual, and we end up judging them. So typically, despite the initial differences between the Vinny and the rest of the team, they grow to take care for each one of them. They start to look out for each one of them, which tells us that their past mistakes don't define their present selves. Which means when you look at any individual, uh, as I said, each one of us we have a story, and each of these players in the movie they come with a story. For example, one of them was uh, in a rehab. One of them had actually not taken care of his family when he should have been. The whole idea is why these people became homeless, because their loved ones said we don't need you. They became absolutely lonely. There's one refugee story as well here, who's come from Syria, and he has nowhere else to go, and his family is bombed, and he calls England as his home, and he was selected. The point here is when you interact with somebody, look at their present. Do not define them from their past, right? And this story also shows us the importance of the second chances. What it means to be seen as a person instead of their mistake. We tend to associate the person and the mistake together. It's like what we typically say: don't judge the cover book by just its cover, which unfortunately we end up doing, right? So let's take a step back and understand and give the other person a chance. Mistakes do happen, but are we ready to give the other person a second chance? Because it is what inside you that matters, right? And as I said earlier, for the uninitiated, there's a Homeless World Cup which happens. It's a real life football tournament that was founded in 2001. It had its first tournament in 2003, and since then it has organized 18 such events. Yeah, it's something which is interesting, very very intriguing to me. And I also saw the India team over there, as in the movie they were showing the march past. Now, one of the interesting stories which also or insights which I also got from this movie is it's not about or it's not just enough believing in yourself. You also need someone to believe in you too. Because so often, even though we believe in ourselves, but with the turn of events, turn of life, we tend to say, "Oh my God, am I good enough?" And that's what exactly happened with Vinny. Even though he was scouted, he was um, thought of to be the next football legend, but he eventually couldn't make it because he was told that he's not good enough. As a result of that, he was totally lost. He couldn't focus on his life, which also clearly tells us that uh, when we deal with people, we don't realize the kind of words we use, the kind of communication we end up doing with them. How does it impact them? And that's where we say, getting a coach, getting a mentor, becomes very very important for us. Vinny couldn't appreciate and understand that this is the reality of the life right now. And to me, the moment you start accepting a reality, possibilities open up. When you do not when you do not accept the reality, you stay in resistance mode. So that's another learning which I would like you to take away from this. That yes, you can't undo what has already happened, but what you will do now will shape eventually what's going to happen. Right? So don't run away from anything. Accept what it is. None of us are superhumans. We are also work in progress. However, it becomes very very important to understand that where we are. And if I may say, Vinny could not relate or maybe never wanted to relate to his teammates because he thought he was different. However, over a period of time, he realized that it is not the individual brilliance which will take him forward. It is the collective effort. We watch out for each other. That's extremely, extremely important, right? And that's where the power of having someone who can coach, someone who can guide you, somebody with whom you can actually look up to, can actually help you define success. And there are a possibility that we probably are a coach or a mentor to somebody. It becomes extremely important for us. How do we mentor? How do we coach? How do we create success for them? There's one particular mention, in the scene in the movie wherein South Africa could not reach in time, and England got a walkover because they could not reach in time. And in the conversation, Winnie ended up saying, "Okay, fine. we will volunteer to play with you again. Neither the manager was aware, nor the players were. But when they came to know, the manager backed him up. He said, "Yeah, so fine, we're okay with that." Because at the end of the day, it's not about the winning alone. It's all about playing that beautiful game. It's not just a destination. It is also the journey which matters. The other important part is when do we understand uh, when you look at from a coach-coachee perspective or a mentor-mentee perspective, what are the various milestones I need to achieve? Is it just about winning the World Cup, or is it about shaping their life? Is it just about the relationship of Mel and Winnie in terms of ensuring that he wins the World Cup, or Mel ensures that Winnie comes back on the right track in life? That's also becoming very very critical when it comes to coach-coachee relationships, right? So this probably is something which we thought are some of the learnings from here. While there are so many of them, we could go on, but these are some of the key takeaways which we thought we should share with you. So maybe I'll stop sharing the screen and open the forum for Q&A. I mean, this movie, sports movies are always something which to me always intriguing. It's always when I probably end up watching them more than once. Yes. Any thoughts, comments, questions? Okay, cool. So I think we need to remember that it's very, very important. It's not just believing in yourself, but also figuring out somebody else who also believes in us to make our journey. Accept the reality, accept who we are, and define what we want to do from here. And if there are any setbacks, you cannot undo them. Accept them, learn from them, and move forward. And it's not the individual brilliance which will win. It is that the eventual team success which will take you forward. So thank you so very much for joining the session today. And as we said, the recording will be made available on our YouTube channel in some time. We'll send you the update. We'll come back with a new movie 2 weeks hence. If you want to suggest any movie, just send an email and on info@squaresequel.com, and we'll see if when can we include that in our management through movie series. With this, thank you so very much. Thank you, Mansi, for organizing this, and have a lovely day and a lovely weekend ahead.